What's going on, guys? I'm Black Ops Amazing. Welcome back to another video on the channel. With Black Ops 7 Zombies right around the corner, there are still many unresolved secrets within BO6. Many story arcs that we can look at and come up with conspiracy theories about what will become of them. And today we are going to look at 4 or 5 different conspiracies in and around BO6 Zombies, going back to Cold War and the older games as well. Now that we know Richtof and Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey are returning, we've seen them, this makes us finding Dempsey's gravestone in Liberty Falls even more interesting. In this map in the graveyard, you will find a headstone that says Ruth Dempsey 1880 to 1900. So this person died when they were 20 years old, but they've got the Dempsey last name. Now, I covered this months and months ago when BO6 first came out. It was an interesting, fun topic for 5 minutes, but like I said, now that we know Tank Dempsey is back, could this gravestone have any relation? Well, we still don't know the circumstances around the return of these characters. We don't know how they've come back, how long they've existed for, and that's not something we're going to learn until later on in the Black Ops 7 story. But with Tank Dempsey making an appearance at the end of Black Ops 6 and having this gravestone in the game, could there be a connection here? Some of the theories that we came up with as to who this Ruth Dempsey could be was his mother, his aunt, his grandmother. It wouldn't have been his daughter because of her age, but then again, because this is a new universe, none of that really matters. Could it be that this version of Dempsey has always existed in this universe, and this gravestone is proof of that? The Dempsey family does exist out there somewhere, and he has somehow ended up in the Dark Ether from this universe. Could it be proof that he hasn't always been in there? What if this Richtof and Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey, just like the other Richtofen, Eddie, just like Samantha, have been living in this universe ever since its creation after Black Ops 4 Zombies, and we have just never come into contact with them until now, but they have always existed within it. At the same time, it could just be a weird coincidence, or it's just Treyarch putting an Easter egg into the game and there's no relevance there, but they knew us lore guys would look at this and come up with all different crazy conspiracies. Because this isn't the only gravestone that stands out. This one right here reads Jack Brierton, another surname we've heard before, who was Misty Brierton, a part of the Victor's characters. He died in 1967, born in 1904. That time is also pretty close to the time that Misty would have been alive. Transit took place in 2035. We don't know her age, but I would have guessed her 30s. If she was born around the year 2000, the 1990s, and this Jack died in 67, it's possible this is some relation to her. The only difference is though, unless an alternate version of the Victor's characters existed in this universe, that shouldn't be the case, but with the return of Richtof and Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey, you can't rule that out anymore. Misty though was banished to the Dark Ether. We don't know what became of Victus after they were trapped there, whether they died, turned into zombies, or are still alive and maybe escaped. I would be more inclined to go down the line of these really don't mean anything, but it does make for a fun theory. What definitely could have meaning in the zombie story though is Spragamos, a zealot of the Dark Ether. The first and only time we heard of this Dark Ether entity was in Cold War Zombies. At some point, Spragamos aligned itself with the Old Ones in the Dark Ether alongside its disciples. However, when the Forsaken arrived, all of this changed. He devoured the Old Ones, eating them and consuming their powers, and subjugated the rest. And we know Spragamos' disciples basically became slaves of the Forsaken. And so to get his revenge, Spragamos created a weapon called the Crystal Axe from the pools of Etheria, and swore to enact revenge upon the Forsaken and reinstate the reign of the Old Ones. That story arc happened right at the end of Cold War Zombies, and since then we've heard nothing else of it, but we know Spragamos still exists. He was the one that sent the polymorphic crystal from the Dark Ether to the strike team in the map Forsaken. Black Ops 6 is 6 years after Cold War, yet we've heard no other mention of this Spragamos. If you look at what this document of the Crystal Axe says, forged in pools of Etheria, 2 forms the Crystal Axe shall take, powerful as winds on the ocean of Sephoria. For if you are to defeat the one who is many, it shall take both to tear him apart. The devoured shall be reborn, their scattered ashes shall be reformed. The Forsaken's torment will be undone when the Old Ones reign once more. Who do we know was recently, well, not recently, 6 years ago, devoured by the Forsaken? Samantha. We have been told in Reckoning by the Samurai, by Richtofen, and the Forsaken himself, he not only devoured Samantha, but he disemboweled her, wore her down, and the Dark Ether finished her off. Samantha is dead. But we look at this document from Spragamos, and those words, the devoured shall be reborn, makes you think Samantha was devoured. So were many other old ones, and that's another thing we have yet to see happen. The old ones return. I find it hard to believe Treyarch would have included this lore in Cold War Zombies, but not expand on it. It is interesting how we haven't heard anything regarding this in BO6. Maybe we will in BO7, but some of the conspiracies that people have been coming up with is that Samantha isn't actually dead, and she will be reborn. Although I will say she is not one of the old ones. And also, well, the Forsaken has gone. He's dead. In fact, before his death, he was trapped inside of the containment chamber, so I'm just wondering if Treyarch haven't forgotten about this piece of lore. At what point will the Forsaken's torment be undone? At what point will the old ones return? If it had anything to do with the Forsaken, well, he's gone now, unless this person right here is one of the old ones. The two main theories that we have as to who this is, well, one really because the other doesn't quite seem believable to me, but there's a relation. The Shadow Man, just forget that one for now, or a Shadow Smith. And we don't even know who these Shadow Smiths are. Judging by the name and the things that we've heard, they are some kind of cult, some kind of followers of the Shadow Man potentially, if he is still alive in the Dark Ether, or some form of him. Maybe a combination of the Shadow Man and Dr. Monty. It seems like Dr. Panos was talking to the leader of the Shadow Smiths, and judging by what he was saying, how Panos is his agent, that is very similar to what Richtofen was to the Shadow Man in the old timeline. The Shadow Man had many agents, also Brutus or the Warden, Avogadro or Purnell. Panos is this mystery Dark Ether figure's agent, or was because he's supposedly dead now, but this great voice from beyond wants to not only reinstate Transit after its banishment to the Dark Ether, but restore himself as well. That surely has to mean this is someone we know from the old timeline. They know of Transit, they themselves want to be restored, which means they were something before. It has to be a character we know, and the only two people that come to mind is Monty or the Shadow Man. And all the wording and the Shadow Smiths potentially being his followers point towards the great voice in the Dark Ether being the Shadow Man. But just going back to the old ones and Spragamos, another thing that was kind of left on a cliffhanger in Cold War was as a part of the super Easter egg. So once you'd completed every single Easter egg in the game, every main quest, in Outbreak, if you came to a specific location on the map, you would find this altar, and if you interacted with it, you would hear a voice talk to you.
We will watch.
He says things such as, "We will be watching, our ways are of the old world, we will not be forgotten, you will learn more in time." If you turn subtitles on, this voice is called Demon, so we don't know who or what specifically this is, but the way he says, "Our ways are of the old world, we will not be forgotten," makes it sound like this is one of the old ones, or potentially Spragamos. Again though, it's so weird how all throughout Black Ops 6 we've heard nothing of this demon. They told us we'll learn more in time. Well, we've had a whole game since then, and nothing. It's possible though, with Black Ops 7 taking place in the Dark Ether, we will finally hear more from this demon and Spragamos. A lot of people were saying the voice kind of sounds similar to Dr. Monty. And well, who knows, after his banishment in the Dark Ether, because he was sent there, he became even more corrupted by it than he already was, and he is this demon. Even though Monty wasn't an old one as such, he was, in the old multiverse, almost all-powerful. And then the final thing I want to take a look at is how Gersh and Peter McCain are still alive within the Dark Ether. If you are familiar with the old zombie story, you will know these characters very well. Peter McCain was the hanging man in Shin Onuma. Dr. Gersh was the person that was stuck inside of the Casimir mechanism in Ascension. But after completing the Ascension Easter egg, Gersh is freed and flies through the universe in an ethereal orb, and Peter McCain, his soul was also transferred into an orb. And clearly, after the banishment of the multiverse, the two of them became trapped inside of the Dark Ether because Pytra, a Russian also trapped in there, finds them.
I have seen many things in my travels. For all its horror, there is beauty in this deep dark ether. The crystals, they take our memories. They make us forget who we were. But our memories do not fade. They are taken from us and form something new, something magical. Orbs. I have seen many in my time here. So many memories, so many stories to tell. Memories of a Russian scientist, of an American spy.
With BO7 being in the Dark Ether, I think there's a very high chance, in some way, shape or form, we come across these two. And what I've always found interesting is in Alpha and Omega, it was Rushmore, the facility's computer system, who told us to transfer Peter McCain's soul inside of an orb because his role in humanity's future basically was critical. Yet, after that point, Peter McCain was not involved in the storyline in any way. He had nothing to do with the breaking of the cycle or the banishment of the multiverse. So what was Rushmore on about when he said Peter McCain had to be placed inside of an ethereal orb because he is important? Rushmore wouldn't have known about the breaking of the cycle, he wouldn't have known about anything that comes after. So unless that was kind of a clue from Treyarch that Peter McCain will play some important role in the future, maybe Black Ops 7 now we are in the Dark Ether with him, then I'm not sure what else Rushmore could have been referring to with Peter. Anyway, I will leave that one there. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, hopefully you've enjoyed the video today. If you have, drop a like rating. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest content on the channel. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.